The green train sped swiftly along the tracks, slicing through the horizon tinged by the setting sun. Near a crossing, several people waited patiently, unconcerned, as the green light indicated that the way was clear. Most of them were absorbed in their own activities, chatting or simply waiting for the moment to cross. Suddenly, one of the train conductors, with a look of panic, shouted with all his might, "Get out of the way! The train controls have failed." His face was marked by despair, warning of the imminent danger. On the roof of the train, two workers desperately tried to stay on their feet. One of them was already falling, while the other clung with all his strength to the safety railing. Chaos ensued as the disaster approached. The sight of the runaway train caused shock and awe among the passers-by. The wheels of a baby stroller suddenly got stuck on the tracks. The situation became critical, requiring quick action to save the baby trapped there. A mother, in a state of despair, struggled to free the stroller from the tracks. She screamed, "Help! My baby is stuck!" Her expression was one of pure terror, reflecting the urgency of the situation. Nearby people also began to scream in despair, "Get out of there! It's dangerous!" The panic was evident on their faces as they tried in any way to alert the mother to the danger that was rapidly approaching. The runaway train continued its fatal trajectory, advancing relentlessly toward the stroller stuck on the tracks. The speed and proximity increased the tension of the moment. A mysterious hooded figure observed the scene closely, his expression hidden in the shadows. His piercing gaze seemed to assess the situation, as if he was about to intervene. Suddenly, the hooded figure moved with surprising speed. His figure blurred, as if he was moving faster than the eyes could follow. The hooded figure intercepted the train with a powerful punch, embedding his hand in the metal structure of the locomotive. The impact was so great that the train began to bend in the middle, with the front part being crushed by the superhuman force of the hooded stranger. The mother, holding her baby, screamed in panic as the train skimmed past them. The wind and debris flew around, making the moment even more chaotic. The woman was covered in sweat, her face expressing the terror of the moment. She couldn't believe she had survived such a terrifying experience. The hooded stranger extended his hand to the mother and asked in a calm voice, "Are you okay?" The woman's face expressed confusion and relief at the same time. Still trembling, she replied, "Thank you," as she grasped the hooded man's hand. Holding her baby tightly, the woman continued, "For saving me." Her expression showed both the shock and relief of being alive. Suddenly, the woman's expression changed to one of pure terror. Her eyes widened, and her mouth opened in a silent scream as she looked at the hooded man's face. The stranger's true face was revealed, a white, empty skull with black, hollow eyes. The terrifying appearance of the hooded figure explained the woman's fright. A plane crossed the clear blue sky, with the sun shining intensely. The sound of the turbines echoed in the atmosphere, while the plane left a white contrail behind. A pair of yellow underwear with a panda design flapped in the wind on a balcony, contrasting with the tall buildings of the city in the background. Inside a luxurious apartment, a zombie wearing pink pajamas with strawberry prints got out of bed, stretching his arms. "My name is Zombie." The camera zoomed out, showing the zombie sitting on the bed while observing the city through the windows. "When did I die? I'm not sure." The uncertainty in his words reflected a confused and undefined existence. Zombie headed to the bathroom, observing his reflection in the mirror. "But I have a dream," he reflected, seeing his own image, a mixture of humor and melancholy. "To one day become friends with humans. I dreamed of this one day, not being discriminated against and excluded by them." With toothpaste in hand, Zombie continued, "With this dream in mind, I kept improving myself. Even though it's still a long way from happening, I believe that the harder you work, the more successful you become. Currently, to achieve this dream, I have helped countless humans," he reflected while going about his daily activities. Suddenly, the scene changed. A plane appeared at high speed, diving from the sky towards the ground. Someone screamed for everyone to run. The crowd in the stadium watched in panic as the massive aircraft rapidly approached. People screamed desperately, trying to flee from the impending danger. The plane came closer and closer to the field, with Nippon Cargo clearly visible on the fuselage, about to cause a significant impact. In one swift movement, the hooded zombie, who now looks like an unexpected hero, holds the large, heavy plane above his head, as the surrounding children look on in wonder and fear. In the middle of the city, a building was on fire. People on the street screamed, alerting others about the blaze, while a desperate woman cried out that her son was still inside. The zombie, with surprising agility, rescued several children from the burning building, carrying them safely outside, leaving everyone around incredulous at his strength and courage. Well, Zombie recalls, he wasn't originally that strong. He remembers how it all began. On a summer day, a zombie outbreak caused an apocalypse. The city was engulfed in chaos and destruction, with smoke rising from devastated buildings. A school memory surfaces. Zombie was studying in school at that time. He recalls the scene of zombies terrorizing the classroom, with terrified students and a teacher trying to protect themselves. Due to the outbreak happening so suddenly, Zombie didn't escape in time and ended up being bitten, turning into an ordinary zombie. He remembers how he transformed, joining the zombie horde, wandering aimlessly through the desolate streets of the city. Those you see as a mob, following the horde, no matter where it goes. Zombie's life was like this until one day, humans started to appear. They came armed to the teeth, pointing guns and missiles at the zombies. Without hesitation, they began eliminating them en masse. They not only burned us with gasoline, but also created a perpetual energy machine to exploit us. Zombies became the source of electricity for humans. Zombie still doesn't understand why zombies want to eat humans or why humans want to kill zombies, but he knew he needed to change to survive. That's when he decided to train. From that day on, he began improving himself, determined to become stronger. Zombie remembers how he lifted weights, ran, swam, and jumped every day to build his strength. He recounts how he started living independently through his own efforts and didn't eat meat, only taking 3 daily meals of protein powder. Even when tired, he continued training even at night, always determined to improve. Until one day, he became strong, physically muscular. With pride, he claims that he became invincible. After gaining strength and knowledge, Zombie decided to live in a society created by humans. He continuously helps humans change their perceptions of zombies, aspiring to live as a law-abiding citizen and a good zombie. Seeing the empty pantry, he realizes all the food is gone. Determined, he prepares to leave home and says, "Let's go shopping." The sky was clear and sunny when he went out for groceries. At the store, an attendant who seems familiar with him, calling him by the nickname Little Z, asks if he came to buy more supplies. She questions if it's uncomfortable to wear the mask every day. He responds that it's not actually uncomfortable. Outside, someone is instructed to help load the items into the truck. Meanwhile, 2 men observe from a distance, one asking if it's really him, the other stating that he will take off his mask someday. One of the men questions something while Zombie bids farewell to his colleagues and leaves. Zombie mentions that Agu is being sought again while holding a photo of an SSS-level boss. The observers question if Zombie really held an entire plane, suggesting it might be false media information. The 2 media men continue watching Zombie, and one of them says it must be the media exaggerating the story. The leader of the media men says they need to remove Zombie's mask and expose who he really is. Both media men are shocked, with wide eyes and sweating, as they realize something unexpected. Zombie is holding the truck, displaying his extraordinary strength. A view of Zombie, who is looking underneath the truck with a serious expression. The truck is violently lifted off the ground, creating cracks around. Zombie shoots up from the ground towards the sky, leaving a trail of destruction, highlighting the force of the impact. The 2 media men are bewildered, wondering what just happened. Zombie shoots up until he is out of the Earth's atmosphere. Suddenly, the scene changes to a gate reminiscent of The Walking Dead, with signs indicating that only authorized personnel can access the area. Various types of zombies roam the place. A small zombie boy tugs at his mother's arm, saying he's hungry, and she comforts him, asking him to hold on just a little longer. Meanwhile, Zombie seems to land with the load in a completely destroyed and abandoned city, worthy of a war movie scene. He finally lands on the ground with the heavy load on his back. The zombies in that place seem happy to see him, saying that Growl, the king, has returned. A zombie boy and girl approach Zombie, calling him Majesty, and ask why he didn't drive the truck there like humans usually do. He replies that he doesn't have a driver's license, making the children curious about what a driver's license is. This is the city that Zombie conquered, far, far away from the curious eyes of humans. He ordered the zombies to use eggs to replace the proteins they absorb from eating fresh human flesh. Zombie asks a zombie child where Agu and the rest of the group are, and the child replies that they are in the main hotel's hallway. Zombie approaches two large doors and places his hands on each of them. Let's meet some zombies who are a bit different from common zombies. There's Zombie Lang, Zombie Fur, Zombie Agon, Zombie Agu, Zombie Varmint, and finally, Zombie Blackie, who among them looks the most human-like. They are all boss-level zombies. Standing in position, side by side, they salute Zombie, calling him royalty. Without hesitation, Zombie presses a paper against Agu's body, saying that he is being sought after again. Agu apologizes, saying that when he's near a human, his body just can't control itself. Zombie then sits on a column amidst the ruins of the dark place. Zombie Blackie informs Zombie that the number of zombies has been steadily increasing, making it difficult to hide from humans, causing them to change bases 3 times. Zombie Varmint asks Zombie to let him face the humans, saying that his chainsaw is getting rusty from not having fresh blood for a long time. Zombie asks what they know about humans and warns them, saying they are dangerous. Suddenly, a strange sound is heard that draws everyone's attention. The scene shifts to an aircraft flying over the sky. A female bust appears shortly after. It's the president of an organization, and she's inside the mysterious aircraft. She analyzes a large panel containing many pieces of information and radars. Calling her president, the staff relay information, saying that all signals are normal and ready, and all equipment is prepared. She questions if the payload is ready. The payload is an armed nuclear warhead, set to detonate in 20 minutes. Meanwhile, the zombies still don't understand where the mysterious noise is coming from. With anger in her voice, the president says for the filthy zombies to experience this. At that moment, the aircraft approaches the location where the zombies are. Varmint seems to recognize the sound and says it's the humans. Excited, he asks Zombie to let him cut them, but Zombie interrupts, saying he loses control the moment he gets close to humans, and then orders them to evacuate the other zombies first. With a determined expression, Zombie says he will take care of them. Back on the aircraft, the president continues analyzing the panel while communicating with the ground unit. She informs them that they have 20 minutes to save any humans and evacuate the area. Armed soldiers in protective clothing respond that they understand. The president asks someone named Marshall to be on standby in case any zombie bosses appear. Then the base of the aircraft opens, and someone emerges. The figure of a blond man in heavy armor appears. He responds to the president, saying that if a zombie boss shows up, he will take it down. Then the crowd of zombies is surprised. From another location, a mysterious figure is also observing a huge panel containing radars and maps. A young man calls him Brother Fei, informing him that the people from the Extraordinary Academy have found the zombies. He replies that they should start playing with the zombies, immediately pressing a button. A cage with people who are not zombies begins to descend, while they plead for help, saying they don't want to die. The cage is placed on the ground, surrounded by a large number of zombies attracted by the human bait. The soldiers receive an alert that human life has been found and that they should go to the marked location immediately. Heavy artillery begins firing at the zombies. A young shooter complains about why the zombies don't die quickly. A sad scene shows a zombie hugging a small zombie, trying to protect them from the bullets. But fortunately, Zombie appears and uses his body as a shield to protect the two. The squad leader appears with heavy missile armament and says there is no zombie that can't be killed, and if there is, it's because the shooters aren't using enough firepower. After these words, he launched a missile towards the target, followed by a large explosion with a lot of smoke. But he is soon interrupted by one of the soldiers, who informs him that the target is not a zombie but an extraordinary person who has been helping people. He is famous for always wearing a zombie mask. With horror on his face, The shooter screams that they shot the wrong person. But at that moment, Zombie emerges from the smoke. The mysterious warrior on standby at the base of the ship receives a warning that a zombie boss has been detected in Zone B. He immediately launches himself from the ship towards the city like a meteor. A soldier with a serious expression warns over the radio, alerting all units that a zombie boss has appeared in Zone B. Soldiers respond with determination that they understand and will head there immediately. But the squad leader runs off unexpectedly, causing panic among the other soldiers who call out to him. Zombie is caught off guard by the leader's actions. Then he grabs Zombie and with great effort carries him away, shouting that saving a life is more important. The soldier, carrying Zombie, runs with all his strength, trying to escape the imminent danger, while a horde of zombies begins to form behind them. The soldiers are in shock, with expressions of panic on their faces as they watch the situation unfold. The soldier runs towards a military vehicle and practically throws Zombie into the moving vehicle to escape quickly. The soldier inside the vehicle desperately shouts to the driver, "Go, go, go! What are you waiting for?" Inside the vehicle, the female soldier recognizes Zombie and asks if he is the person with the zombie mask who always helps them. She is curious to know why Zombie always wears the mask. Zombie, sweating nervously, hesitates to respond, clearly uncomfortable with the question. In another scene, the soldiers observe strange movement. One of them asks what that thing is doing there. A large zombie with glowing red eyes appears, grabbing a bus by the roof. The bus is thrown into the air towards the soldiers, but the warrior mysteriously appears. The bus is sliced in half by the warrior, creating a dramatic visual impact. Holding his sword, the warrior is seen inside one of the bus halves still in motion, and shortly after, the bus crashes to the ground split in two. Soldiers exclaim enthusiastically that it is Marshall from the Academy Swordsmanship Club. They believe they will win with him by their side. The warrior, now facing the large zombie, tells everyone to evacuate the area and leave it to him. The scene now shifts to a group of people being evacuated by the soldiers, while the squad leader asks a soldier about the situation ahead. The soldier responds that a zombie boss has appeared, but Marshall from the Swordsmanship Club has intercepted him. Zombie observes the conversation, and he realizes he knows the zombie they mention, named Little Nine. The female soldier joins the conversation, saying she is there to help. But looking to where Zombie was, she realizes he is no longer there and wonders where he went. Meanwhile, Marshall is in battle against the large zombie. With his sword, he swiftly attacks his opponent, delivering several blows. The zombie falls to the ground, finally defeated by the warrior, who then sheaths his sword after the battle. But watching from a distance, the warrior Marshall notices someone there and wonders if it is another zombie. Zombie observes without reaction what is left of his friend, who was just cut in half by Marshall. Meanwhile, on the aircraft, the staff communicate that Marshall has reported the zombie boss has been defeated. The president is pleased with the news and asks them to record it as part of Marshall's contribution. Back at the lamentable scene, Zombie mourns for his friend, saying it wasn't his fault, apologizing for the zombies not being able to control themselves. Marshall listens intently and is astonished to hear Zombie saying, "We," concluding that he is one of them too. Quickly, Marshall, with his sword in hand, charges like a bullet towards Zombie to attack him, and Zombie watches without reaction. A staff member reports that they have detected another zombie boss, surprised and unable to explain why there is another one. With a frightened look and sweat on her face, she declares that Marshall is already gone. Upon hearing this, the president is incredulous. Zombie has defeated Marshall and left him hanging only in his underwear over a structure. The staff member continues, saying that Marshall's vital signs are completely gone, and he has suffered critical damage. Another staff member then reports that they still haven't fully evacuated all the civilians. Seeing that things are not going well, the president becomes irritated and seems to teleport away. Desperate screams are heard from the aircraft as the staff quickly converse with the president, shouting that she is very reckless for having just teleported to the city. But she responds that she needs to see for herself how strong that zombie is. She charges furiously at Zombie, almost catching him off guard. But her sword simply breaks upon touching him, leaving the president destabilized by the situation. She falls to the ground with her sword in pieces, while Zombie dodges without fully realizing the blow. With wide eyes, she wonders what this zombie is made of. Not wasting time, knowing she is at a disadvantage, she jumps to a further distance from Zombie. The staff member despairs, informing the president that she cannot leave without informing them first, as they cannot send support that way, then asking if she is okay. The president affirms she is fine while staring at Zombie in that scene of destruction. Zombie tells her he has already apologized. She is even more impressed to know that Zombie can talk, believing he must be some kind of mutant or variant. Drawing another sword, she says, since that's the case, this sword seems much stronger than the other. She points the sword at Zombie with a threatening look. Zombie appears not to want to hurt anyone else and pleads for her to listen to him. But without success, the president charges at him. She is surprised when he dodges quickly. Not giving up, she lunges over him and tries to attack from behind with spinning strikes, but Zombie dodges again, almost falling. Furious, she curses him, calling him a damn mutant and asking if he's toying with her. She tries to strike him once more. The scene now shifts to the guards finishing the evacuation of the remaining citizens. Marshall shows some vital signs after what happened. A guard fans him with a fan while he speaks nonsense. The staff member informs the president that she can return now, as all civilians have been evacuated. But they seem to get no response from her. Meanwhile, lightning bolts shoot everywhere. Zombie jumps from one side to the other while the president, furious, chases him, asking why he's running. Still fleeing, he asks if she will still try to cut him if he stops running. She activates the thruster, propelling her like a rocket towards Zombie. He is caught by surprise as she quickly approaches. Without wasting time, she launches a strike at Zombie. She lands on the ground successfully, and shortly after, Zombie follows, falling clumsily as she managed to hit him this time. Walking away confidently, she merely says the target has been eliminated. The president informs the others that the mission is complete and asks them to lower the aircraft and pick her up. In the room of the mysterious man named Faye, the young man informs him that all civilians have been rescued. Smiling slightly, the man asks if they still have a spy and tells him to use it. Meanwhile, the rescued civilians celebrate. The pilot is in his cabin with the co-pilot. The co-pilot suspects some suspicious behavior from his companion. He notices the pilot making unusual movements. Quickly, the pilot presses a red button while the co-pilot screams, asking what he is doing. That button is responsible for launching a missile, which is soon fired from the aircraft. Everyone continues celebrating, shouting that they are all going home. But the spy pilot is detained while other men grab him, shouting for everyone to stop celebrating because there is an enemy spy among them, and the bomb has been launched. The celebration stops, and they begin to panic in fear. The president is still down there and is informed about the enemy spy who activated the nuclear warhead and that she needs to return quickly. She questions the information, still in disbelief. The missile is on its way, getting closer to the ground. The staff member warns everyone to brace for turbulence as they will lose altitude to pick up the president. At the same time, she tells the president that she will need to jump or they won't escape the explosion. She tries to activate her thruster to speed up, but this time it seems not to work. The staff member, starting to get nervous, realizes the president has not boarded yet and warns that time is running out. Desperately, she says the thrusters are not working. She mentions that she used all the battery to stop the mutant earlier, and in the background, Zombie is buried in the ground like a tree. She laments not having charged the thruster's battery before leaving. Suddenly, she notices something approaching. Zombie comes face to face with her. He quickly grabs her by the clothes and spins her brutally and faster than a top while she screams for him to let her go. She is launched very high and is terrified. But now it is clear that Zombie's intention was to get her to the aircraft. Quickly, she reaches the aircraft, and everyone rushes to her aid. One asks if she is okay, while another shouts to close the doors quickly, but she is still trying to understand what happened. "That mutant," she shouts. But the nuclear warhead is already in full swing, descending nonstop. Zombie knows what is about to happen and watches, certainly contemplating his next move. He shoots from the ground to the sky, heading straight for the bomb. Impressively, he strikes and crushes the warhead like a tin can. Everyone is stunned, unable to believe what is happening. A massive explosion takes over the area, impacting everything and everyone nearby. The city that was once in ruins is now in ruins and flames everywhere. The president watches without reaction, likely feeling remorse after Zombie helped her. For those who thought Zombie wouldn't survive this, here he is, well, at least his foot. Zombie appears looking like a roasted chicken, his clothes completely burned by the explosion. Humorously, he says that all this made him want to scratch his behind, implying that it takes much more than a nuclear bomb to harm him. The mysterious Faye turns his back and tells his subordinate that it's time to go. But the young man analyzes his panel and notices there is still a life signal in the area. Faye says they will get them next time because this is neither the first nor the last time they will fight against the Academy of the Beyond. Meanwhile, back on the aircraft, the president is sitting in a corner, not looking very happy and with her head down. Men observe the scene from afar, and one of them questions what the president's problem is. The other asks him to think about the situation. Imagine spending all that time fighting zombies only to be saved by one of them. The staff member, looking at her device, tells the president she thinks there was a misunderstanding, and that, in fact, the one who saved her wasn't a zombie but the masked hero who became famous a while ago and has already been confirmed to live in the city, only using a mask to hide. The woman is so perplexed to hear this that she squeezes the device with such force that it breaks. Now the scene shifts to a sunny day. People notice something strange in front of them. Zombie seems to be in the city where he lives, and everyone is shocked to see him. He enters a phone booth and calls one of his zombie friends, who tells Zombie not to worry because many of them are still okay and are looking for a new place to live. Zombie thinks that's good and says he will meet them again when they find a new place. While Zombie is in the booth, security cameras are recording everything that happens. He goes to the building where his apartment is, where there are also security cameras in the corridors. A staff member, observing her panel, tells the president that they have found Zombie's location, and she responds, "Good job." The two look through the security camera and are faced with the hilarious sight of Zombie in his worst state. They are speechless at what they see, definitely not expecting this. Zombie, now at home, as usual, is working out. He looks at a picture frame with his zombie friends. He wonders if his family has settled somewhere because he wants to visit them. Suddenly, the president bursts through Zombie's door. She is with a few men in black and orders them to take everything from the kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. Pots, glasses, pans, everything is to be taken with them. Zombie, frightened, asks who they are and what they think they're doing, and says he will call the police, placing a piece of paper over his face, not knowing what is happening. She says she is from the Academy of the Beyond and that Zombie has been accepted into the Academy. She continues, saying that from today, Zombie is a member of the Academy. Looking at one of the men, she simply points in Zombie's direction, saying, "Now." The man grabs Zombie by the arm, intending to take him, but he resists, asking the man to wait a minute. The two engage in a physical tussle, while Zombie questions if zombies can go to school. The man tells him to stop pretending because they think Zombie is a human in disguise. Even after the struggle, Zombie ends up being taken against his will. Zombie's belongings are taken and placed inside a military vehicle. The female soldier, with a nervous smile, asks the president if this isn't a bit inappropriate, given that the academy has strict criteria for recruits, and asks if it's okay to put Zombie on the list on her own. She continues, saying that the academy's dormitories are specially designed, and Zombie will have nowhere to stay. After all these questions, there is silence for a while. The president responds that it's fine and that Zombie can stay with her. In another house, one of the men orders the others to move faster in bringing Zombie's things inside. Then, one of them says they are finished, and both bow and leave. The president, sitting in her armchair, looks at Zombie while he is on his knees before her. Silence fills the room, and the atmosphere feels a bit strange. Trying to break the silence, Zombie attempts to start a conversation, asking if this is where he will live and sleep. Responding curtly, she asks if that isn't obvious. She asks him why he's asking, and if he wants to sleep with her. Zombie becomes extremely embarrassed and apologizes, saying he didn't mean that. At the same time, Zombie thinks it's absurd for a zombie to sleep with a human. She states that he will sleep in the guest room. Awkwardly, he says she misunderstood, and that he is indeed not human. While she fiddles with her leg, she seems unconcerned with what he says. He wonders what she is trying to do. Suddenly, she removes her leg as if it were a Lego piece, and Zombie is shocked, asking what happened to her leg. She responds that she amputated it herself and asks if there's a problem. He quickly replies no. And it's not just one leg. It's both, making the situation even more shocking. She seems sad and with a lost look. Then she begins to remember the zombie disasters that happened in her village when she was a child. Her parents were infected, and then they bit her legs. To survive, she had no choice but to amputate her own legs. She also had to end her parents' suffering after they became zombies. With a piercing look, she says she hates zombies and intends to kill everyone she meets. Faced with such statements, Zombie had no choice but to remain silent. She asks what he was saying. Not being foolish, he says it was nothing and that he wasn't going to say anything. He asks to change the subject and inquires what the Academy of the Beyond is. She responds that it is a specialized organization that devises ways to kill zombies. It's been 1,000 years since the first zombie disaster occurred, and to survive these disasters, the ancestors created an academy 200 years after the first disaster. The sole purpose of the academy is to fight against zombies. Over the years, countless talents have been cultivated to help us fight against zombie disasters. Zombie is shocked to learn that the academy was created 200 years after the first zombie disaster. His memory is a bit jumbled, but he remembers becoming a zombie at the beginning of the first disaster. He is perplexed to learn that he has been a zombie for over 1,000 years. She tells Zombie to be sure to report to the academy tomorrow because she has already enlisted him using an external channel. He feels cornered and thinks he can't go. As if guessing his thoughts, she tells him not to think about running away because the academy is not just any organization. If he doesn't show up, he will be investigated to find out why he tried to escape. Finally, the president says her name is Violet and concludes by saying that Dawn will pick up Zombie to take him to the academy tomorrow and that she is sure Zombie already knows him. Zombie is confused and asks if he really knows this person. The next day, Dawn appears to pick up Zombie. It turns out she is that red-haired female soldier. She calls him Little Masked Brother and asks if everything is okay, and he responds, mumbling nonsense because he is nervous about the situation. Turning his face to her, he asks who she is. She gets irritated that he forgot her so quickly and asks if he forgot that they were together in the armored car. He says he remembers, but she seemed smaller, which wasn't a very kind thing to say, as it made her even more irritated. She tries to calm herself, thinking it's not good to argue with her future schoolmate, and repeats to herself twice that Zombie is just an idiot. Without wasting time, she calls him to come in because it's time for the entrance exam, and Zombie is surprised, asking what exam. He asks if he has to take an entrance exam, and Dawn responds, of course, which school doesn't have tests? This is to test physical abilities as well as special abilities for killing zombies. She explains, for example, the world record for the 100-meter dash is 9.58 seconds. Zombie would have to run it in at least 9.57 seconds to qualify. Zombie jokes that this must be the Beyond in the Academy of the Beyond. She asks what he thought the academy would be. He responds that he thought it was an asylum and that they were all crazy. Upon arriving at the academy, the new students are greeted with a welcome banner. There is a field with a crowd of people. There are people of all types and abilities, and they don't seem to have a very friendly look. Dawn climbs on Zombie's back to try to see better, but even then, she doesn't seem to succeed and complains about not being able to see anything, with a mean-looking man standing in front of them. After all, Zombie was right when he said she seemed smaller. The man looks back and tells Dawn to shut up, saying that trash like her should stay quiet in the back. She, irritated, asks what his problem is. The fight is quickly interrupted by Zombie, who asks Dawn if even someone who once lifted a plane still needs to take the exam. She confirms, saying that many people at this school can lift planes. After all, it's a school founded by the former government, so everyone is kept secret. She still gets annoyed for not being able to see anything. Suddenly, a voice is heard asking everyone to sit down. It is a mysterious person who has one of his legs replaced by a wooden leg. He coughs before speaking into the microphone, being an older person. He is Chin, the the president of the sports department. Chen introduces himself, saying he will be responsible for today's exam. He begins a speech saying that it has been 800 years since the academy was established, and during this period, countless talents have joined and left. Previously, the ancestors who fought against the zombie kings could cut entire mountains. But he says he doesn't need the students to cut mountains. He just needs them to. Suddenly, he is interrupted by someone calling him from the crowd. Of course, it's Zombie with many doubts, smiling sheepishly, saying he has a small question. What happens if a zombie is found inside the academy? The professor responds that it's simple. They will cut the zombie limb by limb, and then the body will be hung at the academy gate for everyone to see, and they will also castrate it. Zombie is in shock and says, "Castration?" To Zombie, nothing seems worse than castration. The professor even gives a little laugh, saying he will decapitate the zombie's treasure. At this point, Zombie can only imagine a bunch of bananas being cut. The scene shifts to a sunny blue sky. A judge signals that the next event is a 100-meter dash and asks everyone to get ready. Zombie and other students are at the starting line. The signal is given, accompanied by a shout for them to start. The students are so fast that they almost take the judge with them. One of them is super fast and quickly outpaces the other students, while Zombie, all clumsy, falls behind, unable to believe the speed of the other students. The track seemed small compared to their speed. One student finishes the race, and it is announced that Wu Chunxiu has passed. Behind comes Zombie with his turtle steps. The next test begins, and it's the target shooting test. While the students prepare for the test, the professor communicates that shooting is the most basic skill for fighting zombies. If you shoot well, you will take down the zombie. If you shoot poorly, the zombie will mess you up. While the professor talks, Zombie laments in his thoughts about being dragged to that place he compares to an asylum and being forced to learn to fight zombies, in addition to learning theoretical knowledge and training exercises. A feminine hand with a gun appears next to Zombie. It's Dawn, firing numerous times in various directions simultaneously. She shows a lot of experience with target shooting. It is announced that candidate Dawn has passed the shooting test. Zombie is irritated for performing so poorly in all the tests so far. Zombie watches a student hitting a zombie mannequin while saying nonsense, causing him some fear because that mannequin could be him if anyone discovers the truth. The professor announces the next test, which is a throwing test. The student needs to reach 80 meters to pass and 100 meters to be qualified. As soon as he shouts to start, the students immediately throw their weighted balls. One of them succeeds and another fails, so the professor shouts for the next group to come. This is Zombie's day as he continues participating in the activities, wondering how he ended up in that place with those crazy people. He admits he is being careful, controlling his strength not to attract attention. The professor analyzes his device for a moment. Zombie's photo appears along with his personal characteristics and performance in the tests, and below, there is a recommendation from the president, stating that he is very strong and asking the professor to take care of him. The professor doesn't understand why the president says Zombie is strong when he is not showing good performance in the tests, but he thinks that maybe Zombie is pretending to be weak. Now the scene shifts to the javelin throwing test, and a student throws the javelin with all his might. One of the targets is hit, and Zombie watches the scene with some fear. The javelin manages to pierce 3 more targets and even the academy's walls, with such force that it hits a traffic sign in the city. The professor is impressed with the 32 kilometers achieved, and the student is qualified in the javelin throw. The professor calls the next one, which is Zombie, while the qualified student walks past him, glaring. Zombie gets into position and is about to throw. But the professor shouts, "Wait." He asks if his name is Zombie, and if he is the one brought by the president of the swordsmanship department. The professor continues, saying that the president mentioned Zombie is very strong but not showing good performance in the tests and asks if Zombie is hiding his true strength. Everyone is shocked as the professor speaks. The professor asks if Zombie is also the one who asked the question about zombies earlier, which makes Zombie extremely nervous. With a threatening look, the professor says that everyone here is trying their best to qualify, and no one dares to hold back, unless Zombie isn't a person. These words make Zombie sweat nervously. Desperately, Zombie shouts that of course, he is a person. Throwing the device onto Zombie's body, the professor says that he better show his power. He says he won't ask Zombie to hit 32 kilometers like the other student, but if he can hit a tenth of that, he will qualify. He continues, saying that if Zombie can't do this, then he will assume Zombie has some trick to deceive President Violet, and if that's the case, the professor will have no choice but to treat Zombie as a spy and punish him. Zombie becomes very tense about this, probably wondering what kind of trouble he got himself into. He reflects on this and thinks he doesn't want to be the fuel for humans to kill zombies, but he resolves to just throw the javelin as far as he can. Zombie prepares to throw with all his strength. At this moment, all the efforts and all the time he dedicated to becoming who he is come to his mind. A great fury takes over him, changing his expression. The force Zombie places on the ground is so immense that even his opponent can barely withstand it. Finally, Zombie bravely throws the javelin with all his inner strength. The javelin incredibly surpasses a satellite and continues toward the moon. People can't stay on their feet with such force and are thrown into the air. Even the professor is in shock, unable to believe Zombie's immense strength. It was pure chaos. Now, anyone who goes to the moon can see Earth through a hole caused by Zombie's javelin. Our favorite Zombie finishes his great throw with style. At the academy, it seems like there is a rain of people falling everywhere. The professor is literally jaw-dropped, probably never having seen anything like this before. Dawn is very excited and congratulates him, commenting on how impressed Professor Chen was and how strong Zombie is. Zombie says he just did his best. The piece of the moon can attest to that. Zombie saying he just did his best is the least bit humorous. Looking at his approval document, Zombie asks if he can go home now. Dawn is indignant and asks why Zombie wants to go home when, with his strength, he could even be a president. She questions if he knows how much authority a department president has. Zombie looks clueless. The department of the president of the swordsman, Violet, for example, can command an army of troops, tanks, aircraft, and long-range cannons, as well as have access to nuclear weapons. Besides that, she has the highest authority in a city of 30 million people. The president is just someone who helps her manage the city, but she is still the one who gives the final verdict. As they walk, Zombie explains that he already has his own city. They enter a room with many test tubes, and he asks what place that is. Dawn explains that this is the biotechnology department, but it can also be called the logistics department, the place where all the weapons are made. Zombie attentively observes a picture that seems to be of a family. Dawn explains that the man in the picture is Professor Jamie, but everyone calls him the head of logistics. He was the former president of the biotechnology department. Since his wife passed away, he became obsessed with a crazy experiment involving both humans and zombies. Rumors say his goal was to fulfill his wife's last wish, but he was fired from the academy for going too far, and the academy even has an order to kill him if they see him. At this moment, a woman enters the room and asks if there is a new student, referring to Zombie, and if Dawn passed the test. Dawn confirms, saying of course, while Zombie attentively looks at the professor. Curious, he asks who she is, and Dawn responds that she is Professor Jamie's adopted daughter and the current president of the biotechnology department. She calls Dawn and asks what kind of equipment she needs. The girl gets very excited and says she needs something that will allow her to carry weapons more easily, and suggests a pair of pants that can hide her Gatling gun. Focused on her computer, she asks what Zombie wants. He asks if she is talking to him, and the professor turns to him. At this moment, she panics, screaming that he is a zombie. Dawn laughs awkwardly and explains that he is not a zombie. He just likes to wear a zombie mask for some reason. The professor, still in panic, asks if Dawn thinks she is an idiot or if Dawn's eyes are growing in inappropriate places because obviously, he is a zombie. Dawn says she is not lying and that she saw his face when he was throwing the javelin earlier and that Zombie is super cool. The professor, a bit disconcerted by the situation, admits that if he were really a zombie, he would have attacked her already. After all this awkwardness, Zombie just stood still in his place. Then she asks what his requirements are for the equipment. Zombie says he doesn't have anything in mind because, after all, whenever he gets involved in fights, he ends up going home without clothes, so maybe a set of clothes that don't tear would be useful. She looks at him, probably thinking about how unusual that request is. Then she summarizes the requests. Dawn wants to store more weapons on her body, and Zombie just doesn't want to be left without clothes. Now the scene shifts to another location. The warrior marshal is on his knees between two people. He seems to be talking to a girl who is relaxing with her feet on the table. He speaks, referring to a person, saying that this person is very strong, probably talking about Zombie. He recalls the fight he had, that when he got close to Zombie, his vision went entirely dark. In the next second, he was already hanging at the top of the light post. The girl asks if Marshall's president would win against Zombie if they fought. Marshall responds that he feels like Zombie is even stronger than the president. The girl stands up and places the book on the table. She approaches Marshall, who gets all nervous, and asks him what Zombie's name is. After a while, she says they can let Marshall go. This is Zhang Lanqi, president of the sword department. There is a competition between the sword department and the blade department that has been passed down through generations. Both sides used ruthless means to capture members from each other. The competition became so fierce that if one side had one more member than the other side might even give birth to an extra member themselves to avoid being weaker than their opponent. Seeing Zhang heading out to find Zombie, Marshall wishes, "Mr. Zombie, good luck." The scene shifts to one of the academy's classrooms. A professor is teaching a lesson on how to capture the undead, explaining that in addition to zombies eating human flesh, they also love to eat eggs. Therefore, students should learn to use their preferences and weaknesses to their advantage to set traps. Dawn notices how focused Zombie seems while writing. She asks what he is doing, and he responds that he is taking notes and will need to share them with his family. She is surprised when Zombie says he has a family. Suddenly, all the students hear an announcement instructing everyone to report to the gymnasium immediately. Dawn finds it strange because, as far as she knows, they only hold one meeting. While they are eating popsicles, Dawn tries to understand what is happening. The president is there and asks them both to remain silent because they were recommended by her and should not cause any problems. She asks them to be mindful of their actions. Dawn, a bit surprised, asks if Zombie can eat with the mask on. A young man next to President Zhang looks at Zombie and says it's him, although he seems a bit slow and cannot tell how strong Zombie is just by looking. The young man asks if he should go test Zombie, and the president's smile is enough of an answer for the young man to confirm, of course. At that moment, more people arrive at the location. A man with a large scar on his face enters, accompanied by some strange beings. Everyone shouts that it is the chief, and they bow as he approaches. Dawn forces Zombie's head down, saying he should not stare but bow, as it is the president of the Mechanical Life Form Department. He looks at President Zhang and asks what she is doing, warning her not to cause any trouble and calling her an idiot. She decides to leave, saying the newly arrived president can help himself. But she is approached by the young man who says Zombie is there and asks if she doesn't want to keep an eye on him. She says compared to Zombie, the chief is more important and she only respects the strong. The chief approaches President Violet, placing his hand on her shoulder, saying she worked hard, and she responds that it is just part of her job. Zombie asks why their atmosphere is so strange and if there is something between them, but Dawn ignores what he says and asks if his popsicle tastes like gelatin. He replies no, because he likes eggs. Still intrigued, Zombie asks if the chief is powerful. Dawn asks if he remembers Professor Jamie. The chief is Professor Jamie's masterpiece, an evolved version of humans. He was the only one who survived among the thousands of experimental tests conducted by the professor. After Professor Jamie was expelled, he created the Mechanical Life Form Department. The city under his department's control has around 50 million people. During his 10 years of presidency, not a single zombie appeared in the city he controls. This is because if he finds a single zombie hair, he will exterminate the entire area until it is sanitized. Zombie is speechless hearing this. The chief says he will be brief and begins his speech by saying that everyone is a freshman and comes from different walks of life. The academy needs everyone's help right now. He asks one of the beings accompanying him to start the projection. Immediately, from his eye, a projection is emitted as if he were a walking projector. The projection shows a man on a table with his hands and feet tied, and the chief says this is the spy they captured a few days ago. He says that thanks to him, a nuclear warhead was launched against their own people. Zombie recognizes the situation and says it was this guy who launched the bomb at him. The chief continues, saying that the spy is a close subordinate of the traitor Professor Jamie. This intrigues Zombie because he thought the target was the zombies. Then he realizes that the threat of zombies has passed, and all these conflicts are due to internal fights between departments, which Dawn confirms. With a tired look, she responds that some people just want to watch the world burn. The chief says they have tried countless methods to make him talk, but nothing is working. All the seniors have tried and failed. They have tried all kinds of torture to make Professor Jamie's spy talk, but nothing worked. So the chief asks for everyone's help in the academy to make him talk and reveal where Professor Jamie is. He also announces something unexpected. Whoever makes the spy talk will become vice president. This causes a great uproar, as no one expected to become vice president even as a freshman. Many raise their hands, saying they want to try. The chief says the spy is being held in a chamber in the back and wishes them good luck. About 2 hours pass since the meeting. Some freshmen try to make the spy talk just by conversing, but obviously, this doesn't work. As time goes on, the freshmen become desperate and try anything to make the spy talk. Dawn asks if Zombie thinks he can make the spy talk. Zombie says he can even make him sing. The girl, not believing him, asks if Zombie is serious. Unexpectedly, Dawn shouts, saying her friend has a way to make the spy talk. The chief asks Zombie to go meet the spy. Zombie wants to take this opportunity to understand why his once obedient zombie subordinates have been losing control in recent weeks. Maybe the spy can explain something. He enters a white room where the spy is. The spy, with his face all battered from numerous attempts, says, "Another one," as if it's nothing new to him. They stare at each other for a few moments. The spy asks if the academy ran out of people because what's the point of sending someone like Zombie, and he already tells Zombie to give up because he won't betray Brother Faye. Zombie makes a quick hand movement, resulting in a small cut on the spy's arm. The spy looks at him with a sarcastic smile and immediately starts laughing, saying that if this is the best Zombie can do, then at least use more force. If he wasn't afraid when his balls were crushed, what difference does a cut make? It's no different from a mosquito bite. Zombie asks him to stand up. The spy immediately stands, obeying right away. Everyone finds it strange that the spy obeys so suddenly. It turns out that through the cut on the spy's arm, something transmitted by Zombie penetrated his blood, making his brain obey Zombie's orders. The spy seems to have a strange look. Zombie asks for his name, and he responds that it is Shao Kai. Dawn is shocked and screams, telling the president that Zombie can control other people's minds. Zombie says he heard that the young man is a close subordinate of Professor Jamie, so he must know a lot of things. The young man responds that yes, he knows many things. Zombie starts asking about his interests and then asks why the zombies are becoming randomly uncontrollable. The spy confesses that it was because they released a drug created by Brother Faye into the city. The zombies who consume the drug go crazy and can be controlled from a certain distance. So the uncontrollable zombies are used to attack humans, and with the battles, data is collected from the Academy of the Beyond. Zombie asks why they are doing this. The spy responds that he doesn't know, but Brother Faye says he is doing something great and only needed to collect data from the Academy members by controlling the zombie attacks. Finally, Zombie asks what everyone wants to know. Where is Professor Jamie? The young man responds that he is in a secret base 500 meters below City H. Zombie asks the spy to turn around. Your people are hateful, says Zombie in the zombie language. He informs the young man that he has placed a virus in his brain, so if he wants, he can self-destruct. He says goodbye, telling the young man to take care. The young man responds that he understands. If you like this video, please subscribe, leave a like and comment for the next part.